إذا الأمجاد قد عظمت فللأمجاد بانيها ومن يسعى إلى العليا سيدركها بما فيها ويبني مجده جذلا فروح الفذ يعليها ليصبح همة تروي عن العليا مغانيها.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another very jam-packed episode of the ITV Math Show. I'm your host and presenter Mohammed Kota for the ITV Math Show, and we are shooting here from our studios in Rivonia, Johannesburg. Guys, we are busy with episode 2. We've finished all our content and we have started now with exam prep for paper 1. Remember, we are like 2 days away as we shoot this episode. We are 2 days away from the national final examination for grade 12s for 2015. Now, we are going to be taking all the concepts that I've taught you from previous episodes and we're going to be implementing it and we're going to be applying it to the show and to the exam questions that are going to be put up on the screen. Now guys, I'm choosing questions from past papers, prelim papers, national papers, and we are applying all the processes that I've taught to you before. Now, if you still are not understanding the processes, please make sure that you go back to the itvnetworks.tv website, click on the ITV Math Show icon, upload or download all the previous episodes showing you how it's done. If you're using the DVDs, make sure that you take out the DVD and you are using the DVD in conjunction with the website, in conjunction with our show, as well as your notes that you have taken down since the beginning of Ramadan. Okay guys, we're starting with functions. We're going straight into the program. Let's get started. The question, this is the prelim Gauteng National Education paper, prelim paper, the section on functions that appeared in 2015, right? They gave you a parabola, they give you a straight line, and they ask you 4 questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some questions to this, right? I'm going to add it so that I'm going to give you every type of question that could be asked on a parabola and a straight line. Now you have to see this. Guys, this is grade 11 and 12. So please make sure you take out your notes, you take out your ITV booklets or the notes that you have taken down. Make sure you've got your stationery, your scientific calculator, and let's get started with today's show. Okay. This is the diagram. I hope you're taking it down while I'm doing a little bit of chit-chat here in studio. We've got there, find the coordinates. Question number 1, it's worth 4 marks. Find the coordinates. Let's put a mark allocation here. We'll give you 4 marks for that. Write the function in that. We'll give you another 4 marks there. Determine whether that. We'll give you another 2 marks there. The straight line, and we give you 6 marks there. So 4 and 4 is 8 and 2 is 10. 16 marks just on this one graph. Okay, so let's get started. We're now going to be answering question number 1. Let's see what other information. It's imperative that you read the information that's given on the top. They tell you, the figure below represents the sketch graphs of f and g defined by. So now they give you the equations of the 2 graphs. So they tell you that f of x is equal to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 30, and they tell you that g of x, which is a straight line, f represents, because it's square, the parabola. G of x is equal to 2x plus 10, and that would be the equation of your straight line. Any other further information that they give us? They tell us a and b are the x-intercepts. A and b are the x-intercepts. The graph of g passes through a. There we've got it. C is the point of intersection of the 2 graphs. And the graph of g intersects the y-axis at d. So it intersects the y. Any further information that they give us? No. Please make sure you read the narrative on top, the information that's given. Sometimes they leave out the information on the diagram. Make sure that you take the information that they give you and insert it onto your diagram. Let's get started. Determine the coordinates of A and B. Now, we always say, what is? So, what is A, what is B? What is A, what is B? A and B represent what? It represents the x-intercepts of the parabola. How do we find the x-intercepts of the parabola? So let's go and answer. Let's go to our answers here. Mr. Cameraman, I hope we've got it in here. We've got, what is the equation? We've got f of x is equal to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 30. Now remember guys, if you just joined the show and you haven't watched any of our shows before, I will always give you an exactly the way I will answer it here is exactly the way you can answer it in your exam. Copy and paste the model. The only difference is in the final exams, your values will change. So I'm going to give you a structure. Okay, remember I'm not doing rough calculation here. I'm doing exactly the way it ought to be answered in your exam in order for you to get full marks or total marks in your exam. Okay, so f of x is equal to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 30. We need to find the x-intercepts. To find our x-intercepts, what do we say? We say let y equal to 0. So that must equal to 0. So what do I have? Minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 30 is equal to 0. Instead of f of x, we're now going to put 0. We now need to solve for x. So divide by minus 2, divide by minus 2, divide by minus 2. So what do I have? I've got x squared plus 2x. Negative divided by negative is a positive. Minus 30 divided by 2 is 15 is equal to 0. That is a perfect trinomial. We factorize that equal to 0. X and x. 5 and 3 plus and minus. X is equal to minus 5. X plus 5 will equal to 0. X will equal to minus 5. Or x minus 3 equals to 0. X is equal to plus 3. So there we go. X is equal to minus 5. So obviously the first point here would be minus 5 and 0. And B would be 3 and 0. And there we go, guys. We've got the coordinates of A and B. We put A's coordinates here. A, negative 5 and 0. And B's coordinates would be 3 and 0. And there we go, guys. You got yourself your first 4 marks for this topic. Okay, so that was the answer for the first question. Find the coordinates of A and B. There we go. Write the function of f in the form f of x is equal to a into x minus p all squared plus q. We're answering question number 2. Now, basically, what do they want you to do? They want you to take this equation and they want you to rewrite it in completing the square form. They want you to rewrite it in completing the square form. So, let's now go. I'm going to erase that. I hope you've taken that memorandum down. I hope you've got it. Some of you might have the memos for the prelim examination. No problem, but you can still take down our structure and the way we answer it here on the ITV Math Show. Right, stay tuned and stay focused. Okay, now notice what we do. The minute we get an answer here, we then throw it onto the diagram because we're answering from the diagram, not from our calculations. So, answer to question number 2. We know that f of x is equal to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 30. I'm now going to rewrite it in the form a into x minus p. We need to get it a into x minus p all squared plus q. By now you should know, grade 11s and 12s, that is your turning point formula. That is your turning point formula. So now we need to get this equation in that form. We need to complete the square. So the first thing that we do in our answer, I'm showing you an alternate. There are many ways of doing it. Let's show you one of the ways which your teachers will show you. Right, we go here. F of x is equal to, you take out minus 2 because we want the coefficient of x squared to be 1. So it's minus 2 into, we're taking out the negative 2. So I'm left with x squared. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 4 over 2 is 2. X, positive divided by negative is a negative. 30 divided by 2 is 15. Okay? We take out the coefficient of x squared. Now we need to complete the square in the brackets. Here's the shortcut. I'm going to show you a shortcut. Use our method. It's completely acceptable. Don't ask the question that, sir, Mr. K, if we use your method, are we going to lose marks in the exam? No, you won't. Okay, so we divide by 2 minus that x value squared. That's the rule. Divide by 2 minus x squared. Divide by 2 minus x squared. So to rewrite a trinomial in completing the square form, we divide the coefficient of x by 2 and we subtract whatever value we get there and we square it at the end. Let's show you how it's done. So this is equal to minus 2 into x squared x plus, remember we need to get it in brackets, so we find the square root of x squared, which is x. Whatever the sign is there, we bring it down. So if this was negative, that would be negative. So that's positive, so that's a positive. 2 divided by 2 is 1 squared. Minus 15, now the rule is minus this x value squared. So minus 1 squared is 1. So there we go. Divide by 2 to get that value minus this x value next in the bracket squared. That's why I put the x value squared. The value next to the x in the bracket squared. So what am I left with? Minus 2 into x plus 1 all squared minus 15 minus 1 minus 16. Okay, what do we do now? What we took out in the beginning, we throw back at the end. So we multiply it out here and we multiply it out there. Your final answer, f of x is equal to, remember this now would be your final answer, minus 2 into x plus 1 all squared. Negative times negative is a positive. 2 times 16 is 32. And there we go, boys and girls. We now have got this in the formula. We've now taken it from a trinomial and we've now pushed it in, completing the square form. So we've got minus 2 into x plus 1 all squared plus q. So what would this represent? This would be the a value, that would be the p value, the x coordinate of your turning point, but you would change the sign, remember, and that is your y value of your turning point, but you keep the sign. So if we had to look what was the turning point of that graph would be here. The point would be negative 1 and 32. Remember, we change the sign. Plus 1 becomes minus 1, plus 32 remains plus 32. So we've taken it from a normal trinomial and we've put it into the turning point formula. Okay, so we're done with that one. That's question number 2, right? Let's give you one. Let's try one more example just to see whether you are good at it and whether you can do it before we cut for an ad break. I just want to find out from the guys in studio how much time do we have. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left. We've just got the signal that we've got 2 minutes left, right? This is like math rugby. So we're going f of x is equal to, let's say we took 3x squared minus, let's say 10x, or let's make it easier, minus 12x minus 15. Right, let's see if you can rewrite this into that form. Right, we're going to cut for an ad break. I want you to rewrite this trinomial using exactly the same process that I showed you in the previous problem to apply to this problem. So I want you to give me this trinomial in completing the square form. Right? Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, adults, parents, whoever is also still following the show, if you're still refreshing and you're mastering, you're polishing up your math skills, I'm giving you 2 minutes in order to get the solution to that problem. I see you in 3 minutes time. Enjoy your break. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the ITV Math Show. Right, this studio is smoking with mathematics. So please make sure that you are paying attention and you are preparing yourself. Remember guys, as we shoot the show today, we are 2 days away from the final examination, the biggest math paper that you will write. Grade 12's the biggest math paper that you will write in your life. Grade 11's, grade 11's this year, 2015, are writing a national common paper. There's a common paper that's been set for grade 11. Please make sure that you are also following this. All these concepts are going to be tested in your paper too. So this, guys, is for grade 11 and for grade 12. Stay focused. Right, let's go on. We're now going to rewrite it in that form. We're now going to say f of x is equal to, I'm picking up the pace. So we're going to go 3 into, we're taking out 3. So I'm left with x squared minus 12 divided by 3 is 4x minus 15 divided by 3 is 5. So now we're going to go f of x is equal to 3 into, what did I say? What's the rule? Divide by 2 minus that x value squared. So what do we have? We have x squared, x, minus, 4 divided by 2, 2 squared, minus 5 minus 2 squared, 4. So now what do I have? F of x is equal to 3 into x minus 2 squared, minus 5 minus 4 minus 9. Now what we took out in the beginning, we throw back at the end. So our final answer here, guys, and I hope you guys are right. And by now, those of you who weren't getting it right, you're probably jumping in your seat because you already know that you're getting it right. So answer is 3 into x minus 2 all squared minus 3 times 9 is 27. Your a value is 3. What would your turning point here be? Your turning point would be 2 and minus 27 from this function. Okay? I hope you got it right. For those of you who are smiling that you never got it right before and now for the first time you're getting it right, you need to give yourself a good slap on your back. Okay, let's now go into determine whether the points 1 and 12 are the coordinates of C. Now what is C? what is point C, guys? Point C is the point of intersection of the two graphs. That is where the two graphs meet. Now, find out whether that point is the point, whether the coordinates 1 and 12 are the coordinates of C. Let's check. Let's check. Let's erase here, guys. I'm now going on to question number 3. Now, many ways of attempting this one. The first method that comes to mind is I'm going to equate the two graphs, because at the point of intersection we know these two graphs are equal. So minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 30, that's graph F, is equal to 2x plus 10, because that is the point of intersection, and we know at the point of intersection two graphs are equal. So now we're going to do this. Minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 30 minus 2x minus 10 is equal to 0. We've got negative 2x squared minus 4 minus 2 minus 6x plus 30 minus 10 is plus 20 is equal to 0. Divide by negative 2. We need to factorize this to get our 2x values. And let's see whether the number 1 is one of our x values. So divide by negative 2. We got x squared plus 6 over 2 is 3x. Positive divide by negative is a negative. 20 divided by 2 is 10 is equal to 0. We now factorize that equal to 0. We get x, 5, 2 plus minus x is equal to minus 5, or x is equal to 2. That means x is equal to minus 5. There we go. X is equal to minus 5. That means the coordinates of C, the x value there, has got to be 2. So determine whether 1 and 12 are the coordinates of C. Therefore, 1 and 12 are not the coordinates of C, because your one x value here, there we go, negative 5, which we know we are right. The other one should be 2. And what do they ask? Is the point 1 and 12 the coordinates of C? Definitely not, guys. Definitely not. It does not lie on the graph. Does it lie on the graph? We can then substitute 1 into my original. We can substitute 1 into the original and see whether we get 12 as our y value, and that would determine whether the point 1 and 12 lies on the function or not. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. We equate the two equations, guys. We equated, we then solve for x. We got our two x values, and we checked whether these two x values satisfied the 2 points of intersection which they told us on the graph. So therefore, like we said, the point 1 and 12 are not the coordinates of C. Okay, now comes the next question. The straight line with the equation y is equal to mx plus 32 is a tangent. Is a tangent. What does the word tangent mean? It means that it touches the graph at one point. A tangent could look, I'm not saying that this is what that graph looks like, just to show you what a tangent looks like. It touches the graph at one point, guys. A tangent touches the function at one point. What do we know about two graphs that touch each other at the same point? What do we know? They are equal. From here, from the previous question, when two graphs intersect or meet each other, they are equal. So we are able to equate the two equations because they are equal. Same thing here. Will this graph equal to this graph at that point? Yes, it would. Right? We need to find it. What do we know? That their gradients are the same. So now let's go. Now this is not calculus, guys. Now grade 11, grade 12s, you might use calculus for this. Right? Don't think calculus. Think functions. Don't go. When they talk, yes, we did say previously, when they talk about gradients, we need to think calculus, because calculus means finding the gradient of any other graph besides a straight line graph. Okay, so let's now go on to question number 4. The question says, the straight line with this equation, mx plus 32, is a tangent to which graph? Is a tangent to f. So we've got f of x is equal to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 30. They tell you that the line y equals mx plus 32 is a tangent to this graph. So we know f of x also represents y. So we got y is equal to this. We got y is equal to that. So therefore we can say minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 30 is equal to mx plus 32. Okay, now we sit with a bit of an issue, because now we've got two unknowns. How do we get rid of the x's? When two graphs are equal, therefore that their gradients are the same. They are equal. So which system in mathematics, and let's see how sharp are you, grade 11s and 12s. would you be able to drop all the x's and just solve for m? It was covered in one of our previous episodes. It was covered in a topic called, let's see if you know, the nature of roots. The nature of roots, guys. We're now going to pull all of them together, minus 2x squared, minus 4x, minus mx, plus 30, minus 32 is equal to 0. I'm putting the x's together. So we've got negative 2x squared. We can take out x as our highest common factor, right? Let's take out minus x. In fact, this one gets a little bit tricky. Let's just make sure that we're taking it out correctly. We take minus x and we are left with 4 plus m. Correct? Because minus x times 4 will give me minus 4x. Negative times positive will give me negative. X times m will give me mx or xm. Plus 30 minus 32 minus 2 is equal to 0. All I'm going to do, minus 2x squared minus, I'm going to put here 4 plus m x, because that now becomes, I'm swapping these two around because that becomes now the coefficient of x, minus 2 is equal to 0. We know, guys, we know that this is our a value, right, including the sign. This entire value is our b value, including the sign, and that entire value there is our c value, including the sign, from ax squared plus bx plus c. Remember, that's your standard form for your trinomial expression. So now we go delta. Delta is equal to b squared minus 4ac. Now what do we know? B squared minus 4ac. What is b squared? We've got b squared minus, in fact, we could have put, okay, let's put it like this, minus 4 plus m, close brackets, squared. There we go. That's b squared. Minus 4. What's our a value? Negative 2. What is our c value? Negative 2. So this would equal to, let's remove our brackets inside, that becomes minus 4 minus m squared. This will give me negative times negative is a positive times a negative is a negative. 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. Now let's square this, let's remove the brackets. Square the first term, I get 16. Multiply the 2, I get plus 4m, and times it by 2 plus 8m. Square the second term, minus m squared gives me plus m squared minus 16. What am I left with? M squared plus 8m plus 16 minus 16 cancels out. What do we know? At that point, they are equal. So therefore, for equal roots, what do we know? Delta must equal to 0. So therefore, m squared plus 8m must equal to 0. M into highest common factor. I hope Mr. Cameraman is getting us a nice good close-up here. M into m plus 8 is equal to 0. We've got two values. M is equal to 0. That's your first gradient. Or m is equal to negative 8. And there we go, guys. We've now solved for m. That is why it's worth 6 marks. We equated. Step number one, we've equated the two equations. Step number 2, we brought it into the form ax squared plus bx plus c. There we go. Ax squared plus bx plus c. We got it into ax squared plus bx plus c. Then we use delta. After we got delta, because we know they've got equal roots, they are equal at that point. The gradients are the same. The values of m, remember, what does m represent? The gradient. And what do we know about the gradient at those 2 points? They are equal. So therefore they have equal gradients. Is equal to 0, and we solve for m. And guys, for that question there, you will now get 6 marks. Okay, let's see from the memorandum, have they applied it in exactly the same way? Delta is equal to 0. They've applied it in exactly the same way in the memorandum. Okay, I just did it a little. If you look at the memo, guys, if you do have a copy of the memo and you are working through the memorandum for the national paper, Prelim, Gauteng Department of Education, 2015, it's done slightly shorter, but the problem is that you wouldn't understand what's happening. I've done it very thorough. I've done it exceptionally thorough so that you can see step by step what has happened. Okay, I hope you've got a couple of seconds while I'm talking to take this problem down. I hope you're understanding, I hope you are processing, I hope you are analyzing, and I hope you are able to apply it. Guys, we're now at the end of our second segment. Stay tuned. I'll see you back in 3 minutes time, where we will be doing segment number 3, and we will be doing the hyperbola with shift in asymptotes. So guys, stay tuned. Enjoy your break. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the ITV Math Show. We are in segment 3, guys. Segment 3 out of 4 out of today's show. If you guys are following the show and following the series, hope you guys are enjoying it and hope that this show has the desired impact that was intended when we started the show. Right? The desired impact was to make sure that you, the viewer, you, the learner, understand these concepts, are able to process this kind of information and to be able to apply it in the exam and hopefully use our methods in the exam, and at the end just say done by ITV, done by Mr. K, and put a signature on your paper. I think that would be the feather in our cap. Right, we now got another question here saying f of x. Now we know that this is a different function altogether, 1 over x minus 2 minus 1, and we all know that this is given in the form a over x minus p plus q, right? This is given in the form a over x minus p plus q. So that's 1 is your a value, 2 is your p value, not minus 2, 2, because the minus comes from your original. The negative comes from your original, so your p value there is just 2. Don't make a mistake. Very common error in the exam. If they say, what is your p value? Many of you go there and you just look at it, you see minus 2, you go and put minus 2, and you get it wrong. You lose a mark for nothing. That's pure negligence. That negative there comes from the original. Do not confuse it here, okay? Please, I know I talk fast, I know the show is high-paced, but you need to pay attention and hang on to every word that I tell you, because I'm not just sucking thumb and telling you anything that comes to my head. It's out of years of experience, years out of seeing the common errors that learners have been making consistently. Right? That's why it is so important that you listen to every word that is said in the show. Because every word, every phrase, if I tell you to remember something, it's something that I want you to note. Right? It's a warning. At times I'll be giving you warnings, at times I'll be giving you cautions, so that you can see as you're going through your paper that these are the mistakes that not only I make or you make, it's a common error that many people make, and they lose marks for absolutely nothing. Okay? My q value is -1. Now we know that this is so the answer to question number 1. So let's put a line down here and let's do our answers here next to our question. So answers here, Mr. Cameraman, are we all good to go? Write down the equations of the horizontal and vertical asymptotes. So they won. So what is, you know that the graph, let's draw the graph. I'll just draw a rough sketch of what the graph could look like. So we know that this here is your vertical asymptote, so that is your x, and this is your horizontal asymptote, and that is your y. So they say, write down the equation of the horizontal and vertical. So the horizontal is your y. Which is your y asymptote? So you got y is equal to -1. And your vertical asymptote is your x, so x is equal to 2. Remember, that is your q value. That is your q value taken from there. This is your p value taken. So this here, if you want to make a note of it, you can put that this here being your horizontal asymptote taken from there, and this being your vertical asymptote. What did we say in our last show? What is the meaning of the word asymptote? Asymptote means a line which your graph never touches. So please make sure that you understand these concepts carefully. Find the x and y intercepts of f. So now we've got f of x is equal to 1 over x minus 2 minus 1. We want the x and y intercepts. So now, firstly, we say, let x equal to 0. So if x is equal to 0, we need to find the y-intercept. So let x equal to 0. So therefore, y will equal to 1 over 0 minus 2 minus 1. Y is equal to 1 over minus 2 minus 1. Y is equal to minus a half minus 1 is minus 3 over 2. So we got minus 3 over 2. There we go. Let x equal to 0. I've got my y-intercept, and now I need my x-intercepts. So now I'm going to say let y equal to 0. let y equal to 0. So obviously we're now going to make the, remember f of x is your function, that is y. So make this 0. So what am I left with? 1 over x minus 2 minus 1 is equal to 0. Take this 1 on the other side. 1 over x minus 2 is equal to 1. Right? Multiply both. Remember that's 1 over 1. Cross multiply. You're going to have 1 is equal to 1 into x minus 2. So therefore x is equal to, if I only kept x here, 1 plus 2, x is equal to 3. So if y was equal to 0, then we've now calculated x, and there we go. So our two intercepts, x-intercepts, so this here, if you want to write it out, you could write it out here. X is 0, so that would be your y-intercept, and that would be your x-intercept. Right? The coordinates of your x and y-intercept, there we go, 0. How do we find the intercepts? We use what we call, the system is called the dual intercept method. It's used for most graphs. Let x equal to 0, solve for y. Let y equal to 0 in your equation, solve for x. You'll get your two intercepts and you sketch the graph, making sure that you know what the shape of your graph is going to look like. So we've answered question number 1. We've answered question number 2. Now let's answer question number 3. Sketch the graph of f of x. Okay, so now we need to, let's just make a note of it here, because I'm going to erase everything there. So let's put it down. Our asymptotes, y, let's make a note here. Y is equal to negative 1. Okay, and let's do it in a different color. We've got y is equal to negative 1. We got x is equal to 2. Our intercepts, we've got 0 and negative 3 over 2 taken from there, and the other intercept that we've got is 3 and 0. That's taken from there. Let us now sketch the graph. So I hope you've taken all that information down. Remember, you will answer it in the exam. Copy and paste. Exactly the way it's put up here on the screen is exactly the way you are going to answer it in your final exams. Let's sketch the graph, guys. We're answering question number 3. Right, so there's your graph. That's 0. That's your y-axis. That's your x-axis. Right, y is equal to minus 1. So let's go negative 1. That is your asymptote. So you make a dotted line going through negative 1. X is equal to 2. We go 1, 2. There we go. X is equal to 2 and make a dotted line going through 2. So you can see that's why it's called a hyperbola with a shift in asymptotes. You can see your entire Cartesian plane has shifted. It shifted 1 unit down, your x-axis shifted 1 unit down, and your y-axis shifted 2 units to the right. Okay, that doesn't look too straight. Let's try and get it a little straighter there. There we go. Is that better? I'm standing here. You know what they call it in physics? When you're standing at an angle and you're writing, do you remember that? The error of parallax. Okay, it looks perfectly straight from here. The minute you go this way here, you see everything is standing a little bit skew. It's called the error of parallax, for those of you who do science. Okay, so now let's sketch the graph. 0 and minus 3 over 2. 0 on my x, minus 1.5. So that's minus 1. That would be minus 2. That would be your first point. 0 and negative 3 over 2, that's your first intercept, and 3 and 0, 3 on my x, 3 on my x, 0 on my y. That is my other asymptote. Now, they are in two opposite quadrants. Sometimes they might occur in the same quadrant, and you will sketch the graph, but we know that this is positive. Now we know, just to show you, if this number here is positive, if your a value is positive, just to show you, if the a value is positive, the graph appears in your first quadrant and your third quadrant. Right? So that's a positive graph. If it's negative, it will appear in your second and your fourth. So obviously, we know that this here is a positive graph. So your first graph is going to go down that way, making sure it doesn't touch your asymptotes. Put your arrows because it shows that it goes on to infinity. And the second graph is going to go through that point, making sure that it doesn't touch your asymptotes. And there we go, boys and girls. We've got ourselves another 4 marks just for sketching the graph. Okay? Find the value of k if the point k and 2 is a point on the graph. So please make sure you've taken this graph. Make sure that you label it correctly. You insert your y intercept for your for your Q value or for your Y asymptote. Indicate it on your graph. Your X asymptote, please make sure you put in the values, your two coordinates, put it in coordinate form, sketch your graphs, label your graph, your x-axis, there we go, your x-axis and your y-axis. Please make sure, don't give them any reason to be able to subtract or for you to lose a mark. Remember, in an exam, we need every mark counts. Every mark in your exam counts. You might be thinking, it's only 1 mark. That 1 mark might be that 1 mark that you would need to get your distinction. We had a learner who applied to university last year, and the learner got 49. He needed 50 to get into the field that he wanted to get. I don't know whether it was engineering or whatever. The parent called us about 2 or 3 days ago and said, listen, we need help. The learner is rewriting math. Do you know what his final mark was? 49.5, guys. 49.5. Do you think that 1 mark, or maybe if he lost about 3 or 4 marks, 1 mark questions in the paper, I don't know, you think about it yourself. Do you think those 3 marks across the board would have got him into engineering? He wouldn't have had to waste the entire year for 0.5% that the government didn't give him. He sat with 49.5, 0.5 away from going and studying the course or pursuing the career of his dreams. Who knows? He's going to rewrite. He might do even worse than what he did before. Who knows? You understand? So this is the most critical juncture in your life. Please make sure that you are not negligent. We said in our last episode, the 3 most critical components of answering your paper: SAN, speed, accuracy in your algebra, and neatness. SAN, speed, accuracy, neatness. Right? Boys and girls, I hope you've taken this down. You've got 3 minutes. We're cutting for an ad break into our last segment. You've got question 4 and 5. You know, this last question didn't appear in the exam. I put it in because it appeared in last year's final. So all I've done is I've added a question to here. So in case, should the government ask you in the exam, you would know exactly what to do. Boys and girls, try and attempt these 2, question number 4 and 5. I'll see you guys in 3 minutes time. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the ITV Math Show. Right, I left you guys with the question before the ad break. We gave you the hyperbola. Remember, we are doing final exam preparation, guys. Final exam, we are 2 days away. 2 days, 48 hours. 48 hours and counting to the most important mathematics exam that you will ever write. This is the amalgamation. This is the pinnacle. This is the climax of the show. We have been preparing you for this examination. And hopefully, I'm going to be writing that paper with you guys. Okay? Here's the challenge. On Friday morning, I'm going to go to the local school. And I'm going to get a copy immediately after. I don't think they'll let me write it simultaneously with you guys. But the minute the paper gets done, I will go to the nearest school, collect the paper, and I will work out the memorandum. And what I normally do is that I see from the paper, is there any content that has appeared in the paper that I have not shown my learners? Okay? To give me a guide or a yardstick to see, for me to be able to monitor or evaluate how effective was our strategies. So on Friday morning, here's the challenge, guys. I'm going to be taking the paper and I set a clock. I only spend an hour on the paper. If I'm taking longer than 1 hour for a 3-hour paper, it means I'm a failure. It means that I failed my job. It means I must quit my company and leave this mathematics faculty all in all. It shouldn't take longer than an hour to finish a 3-hour paper if you know your work. So let's say, worst case scenario, we give 1.5 hours. So I'm going to click 1.5 hours to see that, to mark that paper. And I'm going to see how much we get for that paper. And then I'm going to come back on air. And then we're going to take that same paper. And we're going to rub salt in the wounds, and we're going to add insult to injury. Because then I'm going to prove to you, and this I can promise you, I'm going to prove to you that every single method that I have shown you on the show and in our previous episodes will come out word for word. So take it. You either, like George Bush said a couple of years ago, you either with us or you are against us. You decide, take our processes, see what happens in the exam. Okay, let's go here. Find the value of k if k and 2 is a point on the graph. So we got x and we got y. Okay, let's go to our function. I'm going to work on the side here. I'm going to leave that graph. In fact, let's go here. We've got, I'm answering question number 4, but I'm leaving this graph on. Right, we've got y is equal to 1 over x minus 2 minus 1. The point k and 2, x and y, right, find them, and they tell you it is a point. So the minute they tell you it is a point, we can substitute both values into the equation, x and y. So what's my y value? 2 is equal to 1 over, what's x? K minus 2 minus 1. All they want you to do, guys, this is a simple, this I think even a grade 8 would be able to answer that, right? So let's do 2 plus 1 is 3 is equal to 1 over k minus 2. Multiply it out. I'm going to move over here at the bottom. So we're going to have 3 into k minus 2. 3 times k minus 2 is equal to 1. Remember, times k minus 2 times k minus 2. 3k minus 6 is equal to 1. 3k is equal to 1 plus 6 is 7. Divide by 3, divide by 3. K is equal to 7 over 3. And what did they say? Find the value of k. There we go. K's value is 7 over 3. And that is worth 3 marks, guys. Okay, all we did, we took the value, we substituted it into the equation, right? Because it lies on the graph. The minute they say a point lies on a graph, you can plug in that x and the y, or you can plug in the x to get the y, or plug in the y to get the x, because it satisfies that equation. Okay, so there we go. We're done with that. We now want to find, this is an important critical component, very important question. Find the equations of the axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry is not your asymptote. Asymptote is a line which your graph never touches. So what are your axis of symmetry? You know generally our two axes of symmetry is y is equal to x or y is equal to minus x. It's a line which goes that way and a line which goes that way. Right? That is the line. So that's negative over negative. That's the line y equal x. And this is the line y equal minus x. Okay, just to show you, Mr. Cameraman, I hope you've got this in here. I know we're writing like all over the board because there's so much of information that needs to go in here. Right? For those of you, this must be who've never done mathematics before. You're just seeing a whole lot of values and numbers and you've got absolutely no clue. As long as you know, by next year, if you're sticking with the show, you stay with us, we will then hopefully be doing from grade 8 for next year, for 2016, hopefully doing from grade 8 to grade 12. So you'll be following the show from the very, very, very basics of mathematics, taking you in. Hopefully, even if you haven't done mathematics before, and you would still like to rewrite your mathematics and apply independently to get your mathematics certificate or your matric certificate, then this show is going to be for you. Okay. Like I told you guys in the previous show, we've got guys even in the prisons that are watching our show. So guys, if the guys in the prisons are enjoying it and they're jumping for joy and they're getting the axis of symmetry and they're understanding what is asymptotes, there's absolutely no reason why grade 11 and or 12 shouldn't pass this final examination. Okay, so guys, we're now going on to the axis of symmetry of this graph. Now pay attention, right? Just to show you, this is what our graph look like. Now, our two asymptotes. I'm gonna draw that same graph that we did, but I'm gonna draw it on a much smaller scale. So our x was at plus 2. That was 0, 1, 2. There we go. That was 2, and the y was minus 1, right? And then we had the one graph going that way, and we had the other graph going that way. Okay, now where would your axis of symmetry, or how would your axis of symmetry look on that function? Okay, Mr. Cameraman, I hope you've got this in. Right, remember, your axis of symmetry now no longer goes through your origin because your entire graph has shifted. So now your axis of symmetry is going to go here, and your other axis of symmetry is going to go there. So this is the graph y is equal to x. But your c value has changed. It no longer goes through the origin. So it's y is equal to x plus c, because we've got a different y-intercept. And the equation of this line would be y is equal to minus x normally. It normally goes through the origin, so it's 0, but it's also shifting plus C. So we've got two separate equations here, guys, for your axis of symmetry. And like I say, in all our systems, exactly the way, don't worry about that. You can do that on your graph in pencil. You don't need to show that. What you do need to show is what I'm about to write on the screen. Okay? So what do? You do this, you write here, axis of symmetry. And like I say, you copy and paste, you do it exactly the way I do it on the screen. Make a line down your page, split your page in half, because you're going to be doing two equations. You're going to be doing the first equation, y is equal to x plus c, y is equal to x plus c, and the second equation, y is equal to minus x plus c. Right. Question arises, which points do I put in for x and y to solve for c? Right? Do I put in this value here, which we got was minus 3 over 2. Do I put in this value here, which we got was 3 and 0, and that was 0 and negative 3 over 2? Which of these 3 points do I put? Do I put that point, that point, that point, or that point for x and y? Can I, question, can I use any point? Answer to that, no. Which point do I have to use? You use the point of intersection of the two graphs, because that's the point that lies on both the graphs. Okay, and what is that point? It's 2 on my x minus 1 on my y, right? So we're going to be using the point 2 and negative 1. What was 2? My x value or my p value of my asymptote. We're going to be using our two asymptotes. We're going to be using the coordinates of the asymptotes to get our axis of symmetry. So the coordinates of your asymptotes was 2 and negative 1. We're now going to plug the 2 and negative 1, substitute. When I use the word plug and play, we talk about substitution, right? We're now going to put it into both of these. So now, that is x, that is y. So minus 1 is equal to 2 plus c. C is equal to minus 1 minus 2. C is equal to negative 3. Your first equation, c is equal to negative 3. So y is equal to x minus 3. That is your first equation. Your second equation, minus 1 is equal to minus into 2 plus c. Minus 1 equals minus 2 plus c. C is equal to minus 1 plus 2. Remember, the minus 2 goes on the other side. C is equal to 1. Your second equation is y is equal to minus x plus 1. And guys, that are the two equations of our axis of symmetry. So the first axis of symmetry, this one would be x minus 3, there we go, and we know it's going to go through minus 3 there, and this is minus x plus 1, so we know that that value there is going to be 1. Okay, guys, you've got 17 marks on this question. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. We've come to the end of today's show. We're going to be continuing with a little bit of functions. We're going to be doing finance in the next show. For all those, if I don't see you before your matric examination or before paper 1 in your exam, I wish all of you the best of luck. May the Almighty make it easy for you. May all the processes that we taught you over the past 3 months sink in your mind, and may you hear my voice in the exam instructing you what to do. Right? From us here at studio, from all our guys here, we'd just like to say Jazakallah for watching the show. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Keep your dials locked on to channel 347 ITV Math Show. From me, your host and presenter, Muhammad Kota. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
الأمجاد قد عظمت فللأمجاد بانيها ومن يسعى إلى العليا سيدركها بما فيها ويبني مجده جذلا فروح الفذ يعليها ليصبح همة تروي عن العليا